All right, what's up, guys? 01, and let's continue on with our comic book film reviews. Next one is Batman vs Superman, directed by Zack Snyder. And Batman vs Superman is a film that it is supposed to start off the DC franchises. There you go, like Flash, Cyborg, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, all these different characters from the DC comic books, Justice League. So that's one of the reasons in the title it says Dawn of Justice on Batman vs Superman, which is pretty interesting because let's get into the review. Now the film starts off with excuse me, with Man of Steel when General Zod and Superman are fighting within Metropolis, and there's chaos all over the place. People are dying right and left, and Bruce Wayne is going through the streets trying to basically get to his Wayne Corporation, where he has co-workers that he cares about, and also an individual that we really don't know about, but he's in communication with Bruce Wayne. And after the whole mayhem, we see that Bruce Wayne is not really happy with Superman. And not just him, but a lot of people within the entire planet. They're kind of scared of Superman because the way he handles certain things, there's a lot of collateral damage. There's a lot of people who end up dying, and all these different things that they have valid points, and they established that in the film, and they did pretty good in that sense. This film it takes place 18 months after what happened in Man of Steel, and we see a very jaded Batman. He's out there, instead of being the Batman that doesn't kill, he's out there destroying, blowing things up right and left. He just doesn't care. He's just very jaded, very upset with what has happened in his life and what has happened to his people, the people that he cares about. Like Robin, like his mom and dad, like other things that he really wasn't expecting to happen. And then Superman comes into the scene, and he's like, "Who in the blazes is this guy?" And everything just is really falling apart in Bruce Wayne's life. He's an isolated person. He's a hurt, superhero basically, or a hero. And finally, Superman and Batman come to terms that they have to fight. And the way that they executed this fight is Lex Luthor Jr., which is played by Eisenberg, the guy from the Facebook films. He sets these things into motion to cause these two superheroes to come into contact with one another, or their fists to come into contact. And I'm going to tell you up front, this film, wait until it comes out on DVD or on Blu-ray, because tonally it's everywhere. This film is everywhere. It's very, how can I put it? It's very heartbreaking because we live in a time where we have all these different technology, all these different ideas. People are connecting from all over the world, and they can do amazing stuff. But instead, we get stuff that really is, how can I put it, just bad. A lot of people are saying Batman vs Superman, especially the fan base, are like, "Man, this is one of the greatest films ever done." But the rest of the mainstream audience who like seeing a good story being told to them, who like rooting for heroes, who basically they haven't gotten tired of superheroes, because you look at Avengers, Age of Ultron, and Captain America: Civil War, and they're making some really good money, not just here domestic wise, but overseas. But in Batman vs Superman, from one Friday to the next Friday, it dropped like 82%. I mean, a lot. So it goes to show you that the people have a big giant say in what is good and what is not good. And I gotta agree with the audience. This film is tonally bad. The story is bad. The dialogue's horrible. And I'm not saying that these actresses and actresses that come on this film are not talented. They really are. For example, Henry Cavill, I can see him as Superman. He looks like Superman, and you root for him as Superman. But just the dialogue that Henry Cavill was speaking in this film was just bad. I mean, he's like, he doesn't know who he is. The Superman or Kyle or Clark Kent, whatever you want to call him, he just doesn't know who he is. He's lost as a man. He's lost as a superhero. He's just lost, and this film just doesn't do justice to Superman. Batman, he's a shining light in this film because a lot of people are saying, and Ben Affleck does a decent job in Batman because, I mean, for me, the Batman that I always loved and I always wanted to see in the screen again is Michael Keaton's Batman, his interpretation of Batman, and he did just, for me, that's my Batman. But what was it, Ben Affleck? Yeah, you buy the role that he is Bruce Wayne, you buy that he is Batman, but at the same time, there's just so many problems in the story that they get in the way. It gets to the point that you really don't care about neither Superman or Batman at all. That's how I felt. I felt like once it got to the middle of the film, I was just like, what is this all about? Jeremy Irons, who plays Alfred in this film, did an amazing job. He really did. That's another shining light. Jeremy Irons delivered as Alfred. I love his dialogue. I love the way Jeremy Irons just kind of showed his loving, caring side towards Bruce Wayne, and that was pretty cool. But other things like the Flash coming into the scene and Bruce Wayne somehow getting glimpses from the future. Why he's getting glimpses from the future beats me. Why? What was it when Flash appears and Bruce Wayne wakes up? It just doesn't make sense. The audience was left. Even I was left. What was that all about? Lois Lane just going around trying to find where these special bullets have come from. It really is odd because Lex Luthor is a very intelligent character, and him making these special bullets that can only be traced back to him is very weird and odd and insane, and it really doesn't just make sense at all completely. And the whole spasm between Lex Luthor and him hating Superman and him making these reference about how his grandfather, when Adolf Hitler was in power, he was throwing roses towards him, and he's trying to make this. He's trying to get the senator to agree with him because the senator, who is trying to do all she can to kind of keep Superman in control. It just doesn't jive with the story because Lex Luthor later on creates a monster that he himself can't even contain. It would have been a whole lot impactful and meaningful when you have the entire people of Metropolis hating Superman, and they themselves coming towards the president and the government saying, you got to do something about this. Like a huge percentage of Metropolis just hates Superman. That would be more meaningful or a huger impact because their city got destroyed and they have the right to be mad. This man in the wheelchair being all like, oh yeah, Superman's horrible and I just can't stand him, and I'm going out there, spray painting the entire statue that's there, about Superman. I wasn't buying it. Lex Luthor and him somehow manipulating Batman to go against Superman, and then never actually coming to terms with one another, never actually coming to plan it out together, and somehow it works out that day that Lex Luthor gets Lois Lane and throws her off the building is the day that Batman decides to execute his plan of destroying Superman. There was no cohesion. There you go. Cohesion. There was no cohesion in the story of Batman versus Superman. Because there's this one scene where Superman is out there saving people, and he's hovering over these houses that are kind of underwater or about to be underwater. And there's this one scene where this woman's kind of like reaching out to Superman, and Superman's just flying there or just staying there up in the sky and just looking at all these individuals, and you're kind of like, okay, you're Superman, you're supposed to be saving them, not just staring at them. Or another scene was, another thing that came to the mind was, why is it that Superman can only hear the voice of Lois Lane throughout the entire world, but he can't hear the voice of his mother who's being kidnapped. So that's another thing where it just did not make sense. And I'm not trying to cut down the people that worked on Batman vs Superman. I'm not trying to say that they're not creative. It was just a mess. It was a mess. A lot of people, when they got out of the film that I went to go see, or the theater that I went to go see at, were kind of distraught. Where it's like, what was this all about? And they were kind of laughing at the film, and I was kind of like, oh my goodness, this is not what the studio or DC franchise needs right now, because DC is very much behind Marvel, and those are the main competitive comic book branches out there. And I was kind of just blown away with everything. Even the cinematography, I just did not like the cinematography at all in this film. Usually, sometimes cinematography, the movie can be horrible, but the cinematography is very beautiful. In this film, there's parts where I was just lost. I was just really lost. Unless you're a fan of the Batman and Superman or DC comic books, you can understand what's happening. But throughout the film, it was just one thing after another that it was just taking me out of the film, to the point where when Doomsday arrives on the scene and he's out there trashing everything, you really don't care. You really don't care. You're not invested in the characters. You're not invested in the story. You're not invested in anything. You're just there like, when is this going to end? When is this going to end? And it's heartbreaking because a lot of people were putting their faith in this film to basically start the DC, franchises, to start, Flash, the Flash film, the Cyborg film, the Wonder Woman film, but it just did not do it. It just did not do it. I think what it did is just it hurt it more than what it was usually before, because DC, Warner Brothers were having a hard time trying to get their property out there into the film industry, because of maybe the lack of faith that they had on their characters, maybe the lack of faith they had on the writers. I don't know what was going on in DC and Warner Brothers. I wasn't there during the meetings, but something was going on that it really derailed everything. The whole incident of giving control to Zack Snyder. I mean, he is very talented when it comes to doing the things that he wants to do, but when it comes to telling a story, you can't just you can't just go by the comic books. You just can't go by the comic book panels. You need more than a comic books panels. You need writers that know the character and that love the characters. And you see it in Young Justice. You see it in Teen Titans, the animation films, or the animation show. Young Justice, the animation show also. You see it also in the Flash, the TV show. You see it in all these different shows that they have some really good writers and they love the characters. But in this one, in Batman vs Superman, it felt like they're trying to create their own versions of the characters, instead of actually just being faithful to the writers or to the stories of these iconic characters. Be faithful to the characters themselves. And like for example, Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot is a very attractive woman. She is, and anywhere that you see her in films, she gets your attention. She really does. She has a beautiful eyes, beautiful hair, and she really grabbed my attention. I was like, man, she's a very attractive woman. And when she came out as Wonder Woman and she's fighting Doomsday, you're like, okay, I'm seeing this. The only thing is that you could have taken Wonder Woman out of the film. It still worked, It still would have worked. I think it would have been pretty interesting if out of nowhere these superheroes hear about what Doomsday is doing, and then they show up out of nowhere, and then we get like a backstory later on in their own franchise or their own films of what or how they became to be. You know, like out of nowhere, maybe Batman and Superman are fighting Doomsday and they're having a hard time, and boom, the Flash appears, and you're like, okay, man, I'm here. What's the plan? Or you know, Aquaman just comes out of the water with his army and just starts or if not his army, but him and his, you know, royal bodyguards come out and start facing against Doomsday, and they're trying to do the best they can to hold him back, and all these different things where it could have worked, but it just, I guess they didn't have the money, or they ran out of time, or I really don't know, or they or the writers didn't even think about it, but it was a real shameful experience to just see Batman versus Superman on the screen the way it was done. It really was. I felt that they just hijacked the characters and created them to be something that they're not. You know, a hero is not somebody who goes out there and is selfish or is, you know, a rock star. There you go. A hero is not a rock star. A hero is somebody that when he falls down, or when she falls down, she gets right back up and goes at it again. But Superman was a hero that was lost. He didn't know who he was. Batman was a broken hero that really didn't care. All he wanted is just to destroy things right and left, and you know, blame society for, you know, doing what it's done to his life, or just blame the criminals or whatever. And he's trying to take it out on Superman because I guess he ran out of missions to complete. He was like, well, Superman might come out and start destroying the entire human race, so I gotta be there. I'm you know, the last hope for the human race. So thank you so much thank you so much for subscribing to For the Family. I'm 01. We're going to continue on with our film reviews of comic books. The next one is Captain America Civil War. So stay tuned. And thank you so much, subscribers, for subscribing. I really do thank you for messaging me. I really do thank you for being a part of you know, my YouTube channel. And keep on coming. Okay? Keep on coming back and messaging me and saying, hey, man, you need to improve on this, or hey, what about this and this and that. So really do appreciate it. Later, guys. Jesus is King. Peace.